So I'm going to be talking for 30 minutes or so, sharing some of my secrets of success in sales and building a business and creating $1 million revenues, which is really nice, and $1 million profits, which is even better. And the key to the whole thing is basically sales. It really is. It's sales and marketing. And now that we have digital marketing, you have digital marketing, digital sales techniques. But there's some rules that I've used that have worked through 25 years of sales, whether it's digitally or face-to-face or door-to-door or email, or we do it all. The last 20, 30 minutes will be questions from you guys specifically on sales, problems, issues you're having. I'm going to go over some things that are the secrets to my success. And just to give you a little background, since we're still waiting for people, I am a Navy nuclear engineer, although that was over 30 years ago. It was a great foundation for my life. I went to the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, but I wouldn't change anything I've done. I really, really loved the experiences I had. It really made me understand our country a lot better, and I was really proud to serve the United States. I served in the Cold War. Basically, in 1985, I was all over several different oceans: Pacific, Atlantic, Mediterranean, and we were doing Hunt for October in real life all the time. I thought when I was 17 years old that I was going to be a nuclear engineer and provide power for people, for clean, long-lasting power for people. That was my dream. Basically, when I got out of the Navy in 1989, I was like, oh man, I don't think I want to do this. I had a couple of friends who were nuclear engineers and worked in nuclear power plants, and I thought, this is too boring for me. I can't sit at a desk. I worked for the US government for 2 years, designing submarines, and I just didn't, I hated my job. And I got lucky. A friend of mine talked me into going door to door to learn how to sell. And I was like, oh man, but I hate salesmen. I'll explain why later. But I was like, I really don't like salesmen. And it was because I thought salesmen would say anything to get the sale, like no matter what. And when I was 8 years old, I was going to try to get into summer camp. And I came from a very poor background, very poor family in Detroit. And they couldn't afford $400 for me to go to summer camp. And I was like, I really want to go to summer camp. So we had this chance to sell this box of stuff. And it was like little household gadgets and tools and flashlights and tool belts. And, I went out and I made $400 so I could go to summer camp. But near the end, as we started to try to use the things that I made my mom and dad buy, I was like, these things break. Like screwdrivers would break. You'd use it one time. I was like, oh no. I just ripped off all my neighbors. It really had a huge impact on me as an 8-year-old. I said, you just can't trust salesmen. They lie. So I kind of said, well, I'm never going to be a salesman at 8 years old. This is not going to be my life. I'm going to be a nuclear engineer. So when I was 17, I was all set. And all of a sudden, I'm 28 years old going, man, I have just spent 9 years of my life learning how to be a nuclear engineer, and I don't really want to do that. What do I do now? So I went door to door and I learned how to sell. But I swore to myself then at 28 years old that I would only sell things that I could give to my 85-year-old grandmother and she'd be happy with. I would only ever participate in any sales or any products that I could be proud of and use myself and give to my family and friends. And that has been my guiding light for over 30 years. And it's helped me be successful. What I'm going to start off with here is basically the true definition of sales that I use. But first, basically, we call this the secret formula to improving sales. I'm going to go over a simple mathematical formula that you can use to manage your sales teams and manage your online sales, and to manage, basically the sales process, including customers, employees, people. It's a very good formula. So hold on to that because we'll be getting into that later. Sales is the service of helping a client choose the best product or service for them, for the client. Sales there's all this pressure when I've managed and trained and hired and fired over 15,000 salespeople in the last 24 years in my company alone. Over 15,000 people have walked through these halls. Right now, I have about 30 people, and that is kind of like the distillation of going through the best and the worst of everybody over the last 24 years. And I've always taught this, our job, we sell electricity and natural gas in deregulated states. Our job is to help business owners understand their electric and natural gas bills and to then make the best choice of the suppliers that we bring. And we only work with suppliers that honor their commitments to the customers. So there's hundreds of retail energy suppliers in America in deregulated states. Unfortunately, in Florida, we pay a utility. We have a monopoly in Florida, so you don't have a choice. So our job was to educate customers so they understood why they were making the best choice for them as a business. And we've saved businesses, hundreds of thousands of business owners we've saved over the last 24 years, hundreds of millions of dollars on their energy bills. So we love this. And so for us, the definition of sales is not manipulation. It's not lying to people. It's not forcing people to buy your stuff. It's not, baiting and switching. Sales is a true service. Professional salespeople actually are loved by their clients because they help them get the best product possible for them. That's me as an 8-year-old when I was selling door to door. So the code of honor that we developed that we use in my company for sales reps is number one, don't lie to the customer ever. Just, you could apply this to any part of your life, but in sales for sure, if you're the customer and someone tells you something to get you to buy their product and it's not true, and you find out later, what do you think of the salesperson? Or what do you think of the company? The best story I have for this was over 20 years ago. We were selling commercial natural gas in Ohio. We were called 80,000 potential customers. We ended up signing up about 30,000 of those customer accounts in Ohio in a year. But one girl came in and she was excited because she had the CVS food chain, the CVS store chain. And at the time in Ohio alone, it was 1,000 accounts, 1,000 gas accounts. And this girl was telling us about this deal every day. She was in good communication with the decision maker. I was helping her with it. But 1,000 accounts, it takes a long time to get it together. There was a lot of questions. This is one state of CVS and they're in every state. And all of a sudden one day I get a phone call from the decision maker at CVS. And this lady is livid. She was so upset. She was saying, how dare you not let your pregnant employee go home and to see your doctor? And I was like, what? She goes, yeah, the girl who's been helping me, she said that you won't let her leave the office today and I have to sign the contract today so that she can go to the doctor. I said, oh man, I am so sorry. But that girl's not pregnant. And I'm sorry she lied to you. And then when the lady realized that I wasn't a bad owner, it was really the salesperson lying to her. She goes, I will never deal with a company who allow its employees to lie like this to get somebody to sign a contract. It just isn't worth it. So, keep your promises to the customer. If you promise to deliver something on Wednesday, then do everything you can to deliver it on Wednesday. If it's impossible, so if a supplier tells you, oh man, last minute, sorry, we can't get this in for a week, the first thing you have to do is call the customer and say, listen, I promised you Wednesday, but here's what happened. I can't get it to you by Wednesday. Don't wait until Wednesday passes to tell the customer. And yeah, if it's true, blame the supplier. They literally just called me and it's going to take another 7 days. Trust me, we're doing renovations on my house. We get people promising us one thing every day and it's another. But stay in communication with the customer and tell them the truth. Hey, look, this is what happened. And what we'll do as soon as it comes in. I mean, sometimes if I can do this, I would personally deliver it to you. always present solutions to the customers. They have enough problems. Common sense. Don't sell anything to a customer that you wouldn't want to buy yourself. So here's another story. A supplier that we were working with in Texas, they were basically, these are billion-dollar companies. My company's a broker. We contact customers and we offer pricing from 5 or 6 or 10 different suppliers, and we offer their contract information and we understand it. Well, this one supplier, we kept complaining and said, we can't sell your electricity pricing in Texas because you're like 50% higher than everybody else, including the utility. And they're like, well, you have to just sell it because we're a good company. I said, well, I can't. They hired a new CEO. He went in, he says, what do you mean the employees? The employees were not using their own company's electricity. They were using the competitor's electricity. So he said, that's it. And instead of solving the pricing issue, because if all the other guys could give us 8-cent pricing, why could he only do 9 or 10-cent pricing? He made special pricing for all the employees and called it the employee pricing plan so that the employees would use their brand. That doesn't solve the problem. So that company is no longer in business in Texas. Makes you wonder why. Now, treat the customer the way you want to be treated. The other thing is, don't lie to yourself about stuff. Listen, don't lie to yourself. This is even more important than lying to anybody else. Don't lie to yourself. If you hate your job, don't lie to yourself. Yeah, if you want to stay somewhere because you're making good money, but you hate it, you're going to have to come to grips with yourself at some point or another. But if you find out the product you're selling is a ripoff, then get out. Go find a different product to sell. Number 9, this is not done enough. Learn everything you can about your product or your service so you can honestly answer the customer's questions instead of BSing people. Don't BS people. The other thing I've learned really, and this is just, it's good sales tactics. When you know you have a good product, be willing to let people say no to you. When I started my company, we lucked out. We were selling a guaranteed 10% savings on electricity for homeowners in New York City. And when I started my company, this was how I was able to make $1 million profit the first year alone. We were selling like crazy, but understand, only 3 out of 10 people said yes. Only 3 out of 10. So instead of getting mad at people who say no, we just kept saying, okay, it's your right to choose. You don't have to have this discount. And they would hang up and we would call the next person, and 3 out of 10 said yes all day long. We were signing up 2,000 or 3,000 customers a week. I had very happy salespeople. And sometimes I would listen to the calls and they would say, oh, that lady, I can't believe they're such a jerk. I said, listen, you're not here to sell every single person. We have a guaranteed savings product. Everybody should say yes. They're not going to. Don't get mad at them. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of your energy. Point 13, don't degrade yourself or your product at your price. If you're selling something awesome, don't feel bad. Don't try to do discounts. Quit begging your managers to sell discounts. You know what? Learn how to show the value to your customer. If you do this, you can charge a premium because the value is there for your customer. So you got to sell value, not price. Never sell price. And it's okay to be a millionaire. That was my code of honor. I don't know if this is true for everybody. I do know that some people hate this code of honor. I know that I have competitors that don't like my company because we won't allow salesmen to lie to customers. But I've been in business for 24 years. I have clients that love me and invite me into their homes when I go up to visit in Pittsburgh and New York and Texas, because we're not perfect. We have made mistakes. We have definitely not done a great job sometimes with some customers. I've had employees say some really bad things to customers on recorded lines. And let me tell you, that takes me many, many hours to fix those kind of problems. But in the end, I made the customer feel good about our company. The salesman was fired immediately. So you're going to find everything in life, you're going to find those different situations, but it's okay to be successful and it's okay to make people happy with your product. And I have reviewed a lot of your websites, You guys have some amazing products. It's awesome. Now here's the mathematical formula I want to get into, and then I'll tell a few more stories, and then we're going to get into a Q&A. But what I found and what most people know about is the 80-20 rule. That means 80% of the sales are done by 20% of the people. 80% of the work in your office is done by 20% of the people. This rule is 200 years old. It was really not a rule. It's an observation of what occurs in life. And for whatever reason, 20% of the people, like all the Boom America companies, you're part of Boom America so that you can get help growing fast. Well, how many people are willing to grow their company fast? I guarantee you 80% of small businesses fail in the first couple of years. So 20% take off. When you have a sales crew, 20% will do 80% of the sales. Now, one time when I had 100-man special operations that was just doing commercial electricity in a couple of states, I had 100 seats, not even 100 people, because 100 seats. My turnover, because this is cold calling, it's not easy. This is harder than being on a submarine, trust me. 100 people cold calling. The bottom 20% turned over every week or so. I hired 20 people every week to keep 100 seats filled. I had to train 20 new people every week. I had a huge training system so I could get people trained on the phones as quickly as possible, because the turnover sometimes was 2 or 3 days. I'd hire someone, 3 days they're gone. Well, I had 3 years worth of sales data. And it turns out that for this 100 seats, it was actually a lot more than 100 people because of the turnover. But over a 3-year period with 100 seats, the top 20 people did 80% of the sales of 3 years. So 20 guys, and they were all there. 20 guys were there for 3 years. They made 80% of the sales for the 3 years. And the middle 60% did the other 20% of the sales. The bottom 20% couldn't even stay hired. Now, there's another little rule, though. Now, you can write this down if you want to or not, but the top 20% of the top 20%, they do 80% of 80% of the work. Well, 80% of 80% is 64%. Again, I had 3 years worth of sales data. I looked at the statistics. 20% of 20 guys is 4 people. 80% of 80% is 64%. I found that 4 people alone closed 67% of all the sales for 3 years. I kept those people for everything. The number 1 guy has been with me for 20 years. He's still with me. He's my top sales manager. He's still the top producer. He's a top sales manager. He's a top producer, and he still helps people close millions of dollars worth of sales. And he closes $1 million a year himself. And that's the top 20%. The middle 60%, you have to have willing people that are learning, that are learning your business, or sometimes there's people that will just produce enough to stay working. And I tried to actually eliminate the middle 60%. I tried one time, I had a chance, and I just took the top 20% of the salespeople. And it doesn't work, because the top 20% they get used to being fed. That means they want someone else doing the grunt work in the middle, in the front, what we call fronters, the people who cold call the most. The closers can close, but you need somebody who can actually feed. So you need this middle 60% who are willing to bang the phones. I have a lady who's literally done nothing but set up a closer for 22 years with me. She's the best fronter. She doesn't want to close, but I need her. We can't live without her. She keeps my top closers filled with deals to close. The bottom 20% of the people, whether it's sales or admin, the bottom 20% of the people around you are causing 80% of the problems or more. So everybody knows the 80-20 rule. I guess it works both ways from the bottom to the top, but I can tell you this: treasure your top 20%. Bonus the hell out of them. Figure out a way to give them rewards, whether it's monetary or personal awards, achievement awards, and basically treasure this top 20%. Keep training the middle 60%. These are your they still produce. They get things done. You need people to get things done for you. These are good people. And the bottom 20%, you need to get rid of as soon as you find out that this is the person causing problems for you. You need to get them out of your organization. You can apply this to sales, to admin. You can apply this to life. 20% of your friends cause 80% of your problems, or give you 80% of the problems in your life. The top 20% of your friends, you know that you would go to war with each other. You would help each other no matter what. And then you have a bunch of acquaintances. So scrape out the bottom 20% of the people out of your life, out of your business, and you'll do better. It works every time for me. Every time I've had a lull or a crash, I look and I get rid of the people that are causing the problems. Top 20% is your best sellers, middle 60% is your average sellers, and the bottom 20% is the waste of shelf space. This also applies to customers. You will find that you spend 80% of your time in customer service on less than 20% of your customers. It also applies to products. When you have several different products that you're selling online or in a catalog or in your company, the top 20% of the products will be bringing in 80% of your sales or 80% of your income. The middle 60%, they bring in the rest. And the bottom 20% just sit there on the shelf. They're a waste of shelf space. That's why we use that word. So it applies to products. It applies to customers. It applies to salespeople. It applies to admin people. So this little thing right here is worth millions of dollars because I've used this to make millions of dollars for myself over the last 25 years. And it's painful sometimes because you feel sorry for some people. But as soon as you identify someone as the bottom 20%, you just have to get them out of your business. You can still be nice to them, but they can't work for you, or you won't grow. And one person, believe it or not, can throw all kinds of monkey wrenches into your gears of your business. And it's really hard. And sometimes on a partner level, sometimes you realize after a while that you guys don't see eye to eye, you have to change partnerships. So I've changed partnerships a few times over the last 24 years. And recently I bought out my partners about 6 months ago, and I'm happy as heck. I'm happy. I'm still 62 and a half years old, but I'm happy as hell. So my life is good because I focus on this formula and I use it all the time. Life is simple when you can truly confront and find out who are the best people around you, reward them, help them, elevate them, use them for, and except for sometimes sales guys, your best sales guys are not always your best managers. You gotta remember that one. I've made the mistake a few times thinking, oh my God, he's an animal. He's really a good salesman. He follows the code. He has sticky customers, but he can't manage people. And so you let them, you promote someone up to a place where they're incompetent. You got to de-promote them and do it in a nice way and keep paying them extra money to be a good salesman. This is a lesson I've learned over 30 years of managing sales guys. And if you really take this to the next level and focus on really rewarding your top producers and getting rid of the bottom problem children and the worst producers, and you use statistics. They have sales. If they're administration, it's how much they get done, how many things break around some people. I used to have some employees that they would just get near a computer, it was always broken. And my IT was like, Jim, there's nothing wrong with the computer, but every time they use it, they break it. It's an indicator, and that's what they're doing in your business. They're breaking your business. So if you can handle these type of people, it's really important to get them off your lines, because sales is really communication, good communication, handling your customers correctly and happily, finding the best products, and then doing it in volume. And the whole thing with Boom America is to figure out how we can increase your public relations, your marketing, any legal questions, how you can ramp up your sales, how do you ramp up your delivery. Everybody has different problems. So we're going to do the Q&A now and specifically answer questions, if that's okay with you guys. Tristan wants to know, how reliably can you handle training someone from the middle 60% to become a top 20%er. All I can say is the best example I ever had of this was we had about 150 people in the call center one time, and we were doing this program. And I found this one guy who was the pace setter. So, for example, in the beginning, he would do 20 sales a day. And this was residential before we got big into commercials many years ago. So to close a residential electric or gas customer was pretty easy. You just needed their account number, and they did a voice verification. And I said, I bet you can't get to 25. Now, the funny thing was this guy was doing 20 consistently. Other guys were doing, 15 to 18. And then it went all the way down to where people are doing 1 or 2 a day. So I kept pushing the top producer up until he hit 40 sales in a day. And then the next tier was doing like 30 sales a day. The next tier was doing 20. The guys who used to do 5 sales a day, I got them up to 20 sales a day. Now they still, Tristan, they still weren't the top 20%. But if you compared their sales at the beginning to when I pushed the whole team up, they did 4 times as much sales a day as they did at the beginning of the process. So you got to have your leaders are setting the pace and keep training the middle to get better. If you make a guy in the middle 60% do 4 times his normal sales volume, okay, he still may not be in the top 20% of your company, or he might join the top 20%. There is a way to do it. And again, get rid of the troublemakers as fast as you can, because they actually will eat your team. Doreen wants to know, is there a better way to identify the top 20% in the interview process? If I had a nickel for every salesman who told me he was the top producer at his company before, I'd be a multi-millionaire, more than I am now. So you really want to check people's references, and you want to make sure that you can talk to people that they actually worked for to find out if they were really good salespeople, or they really did a good job in their last job. So checking references is important, unless it's their aunt or their uncle or someone who's not going to tell you a true reference. In 24 years of hiring sales guys, I kind of did it the fast flow way. If they could read and they could answer and they could get through the beginning part of the interview process, and they were pretty intelligent and they were kind of eager and they seemed positive and they were pretty clean, I hired them. And I said, okay, you got 2 weeks to show me you can do this. And that's how I found some of my best guys, because they would just come in and rip the cover off the ball in the first 2 or 3 weeks. Everybody takes the first few days to learn. And it's the hiring process is really having enough questions and doing all the interviews that you can. Okay, Autumn. Yeah, with so many people not wanting to get on the phone anymore. Yeah, there's definitely not as many people answer the phone, even business to business. So we still get a hold of people, and we're calling people still every day. B2B more than residential at all. We don't do any residential sales. And you can do an effective email campaign, but you got to do a lot of different ways to attract email addresses that opt in. So, I mean, Martino and some of the marketing guys can have a lot of things. Actually, Martino, can you come answer this one question from a marketing viewpoint?
Hi, guys. So Autumn had the question. She's saying a lot of people don't answer the phones. So do we think we can effectively outreach through email? And well, obviously, I think a lot of your companies are actually online and sell things online, but the way marketing is going is more and more online, and pretty much a lot online. So yes, you can do an outreach through cold emails. It is tricky. You're buying lists. Some of those emails might not be correct. You have to do things pretty specifically to avoid spam filters. So it's a lot of work, but yeah, it can be done. We do cold emails to a lot of the people that we cold call. But the reason why I said digital is because there's so many other ways to attract leads digitally through, for example, for Jim's company, we have a couple free ebooks We have thousands of followers on social media. We do newsletters. We have ways, free energy audits that we promote that people, register for. And like he said, we also build an opt-in list, and we do content marketing to that list. And then there's also online advertising. So there's so many ways that you can approach this digitally. But to answer your question, Adam, yeah, you could do an outreach through email. Cold email is a lot harder. The best way is to have a bunch of different ways to collect people's emails and then do content marketing. Hope that helps.
The 10% rule. Okay, which 10% rule? Oh, 10% are buyers. Yeah, I mean, we close probably 20% of the prospects that we pitch to. So on average, we do 20% close rate, which I think is low. I mean, the top closers are closing 40 to 50% of the qualified buyers. With government, I was in the government, and I know that it's kind of hard to break in. Like once you get into the government, it's like pushing an elephant down the road. It doesn't move for a long time, and then when it starts to take a step, it goes faster and faster. So once you're in, it's awesome. You have to have the staying power to do government contracting. I don't work with the government. Because there's so many regular commercials that I can just call up and do contracts with easily. So the easy money for me is not government. But I think if you have a 10% closing rate, and once you get an elephant customer, then you have to use good customer service and care and product and keep the customers. So we keep about 80% of our customers once we sign them up. Dean has a question. As a luxury property owner operator, would you apply the same idea to properties instead of salespeople? For example, would it make more sense to simply dump a less profitable property, make room for others that have more in common with the top 20%? Yes, this rule applies. The bottom 20%, you can look at anything. The bottom 20% of the players on a team, the bottom 20% of the products on the shelf, the bottom 20%, when you already know that you're making a certain profit on one product, and you're trying to, try new stuff. The best example is Edsel. Who's ever heard of a car named the Edsel? Well, the Ford Motor Company wanted to sell a car named the Edsel after the president, Edsel Ford. It tanked. It was terrible. And they still spent a lot of money trying to market the hell out of it, even though all the surveys said nobody wants this car. So you got to get rid of that. It's a loser. So if you have a bad property and your profit level is at this level, and you're trying to sell something that's at this profit level, it's wasting your time and your energy and your happiness. So yeah, dump it. Same thing with products. I mean, you look at internet products, you'll see people go, I'm killing it with this. And then they go, I got to do the same thing with everything else. No, well, make sure you don't forget to keep putting all your social media, telling people how good this is, because there's billions of buyers now. Tristan says, we have a very small team, 4 salespeople. There's certainly a worse salesperson in the group. They're far better than the worst we've had. Yes. Yeah. Look, I mean, okay. I only have 30 employees, and it's usually now I know every one of them, and I have the whole gamut from like the middle 60 to the top 20 in those 30 people. And unless the person all of a sudden changes their lifestyle and they don't come to work, the ones I have distilled down to are my team. And now as we bring in new people, it's really funny. If you bring in a really good guy, he comes in, the group goes boom, and the group does better when a really good person joins the team. And when a middle 60% joins the team, no one really notices a difference. He comes in and he's learning, and there's no problems. There's no excitement. You didn't break any records that week. And he could be a good workhorse. But if you get a bottom 20%er, and I tell you, owners, you don't always notice sometimes, even on a small team, that what day a person started. Please, in your hiring, put the date and time somewhere in your journal or on your calendar, somewhere you can find it again real easily, because it's strange, but if a bottom 20%er walks into your group, it doesn't always happen instantly, but within days or a couple of weeks after they arrive, there's more problems. Your best people are fighting with each other. Products for some reason that were selling last week don't sell this week. I don't know. Sometimes it appears mystical or magical, but people can have really good effects on a group and people can have really bad effects on your group. And if you don't keep track of when a new person comes in, it's hard to realize that this one person, because they could be smiling and so nice, and yet everything they touch turns to stone. It's not, I mean, some of my best sales guys are angry people. They take a lot of care from me to keep my top couple of sales guys happy because they're just angry, but they angrily do millions of dollars of sales. And okay. And their customers love them. Probably because their customers are angry people. I don't know. But I can tell you this, I go by the group statistic. And if the group statistic is increasing and the sales are increasing and the profit's doing well, man, don't change anything. If all of a sudden there's fights and there's wars and find out who just joined your group. This will save you a lot of heartache if you just keep track of this one thing. And if you got a good team right now, nurse it and try to make it grow a little bit. That'll help you. Okay, anybody else? Good question, Tristan. We need to find someone who knows how to put together a sales funnel to capture leads and will pay for by utilizing the opt-in landing page or lead magnet. This is a Martino question. Martino, so when it comes to this digital marketing, I'm not the expert. I just know my sales guys are happy when Martino's marketing leads land on the floor because there are people going, yeah, I want a free sales audit. I want, I'm looking at this, I'm looking at that. And so, okay, he just gave you his email address. I can tell you that it's in this day and age, man, if you're not on social media, like we get hundreds of views of I'm talking about electricity on our YouTube channel for energy professionals. And I do a lot of videos. Videos help. So I just do a lot of 2-3 minute videos explaining one little thing about natural gas or electricity or how to find the best supplier. And we do things over and over again. And we have a Facebook page that's pretty active, and we do a lot of social media. And social media does help. And then we have different ways of capturing people's information, and then we put them on mailing lists. And we don't get a lot of ask off. I mean, we can't, the days of loading 1,000 leads into an email machine and emailing 1,000 people that you don't know that's a little tougher. I mean, it's kind of funny, even on this, we had 36 people sign up for this webinar. And then we were sending an email every day reminding you of this webinar happening at 1 o'clock today. And one guy wrote, quit emailing me, take me off your email list. And I'm going, you asked to be on the email list, but we took him off. I don't argue. I did notice that he did ask to be on the list because that's the only way to get on this email list for this webinar was you had to click on a link. So good. I don't want to waste anybody's time. I just wanted to hit you with one point, make that point. Sales really is finding out what your customers want and then showing how your product delivers what they want. I know that for like, if you have pain reliever, you got to find out who's got a pain and where, and then you say, look, try my product, I think it can help you. And then they go and, wow, this is awesome. Then you get them to give you a success story, and then you show off your happy customers. I mean, Martino gets success stories. We have people telling customer service every day, I really love working with Jasmine, she's amazing, she really helped me, she saved us $1,000 a month. I'm like, okay, and we share that, share the good news. Yeah, we'll talk to Bob. If you guys have a lot of questions about sales funnels and leads and digital marketing, then we can probably put together another webinar. And I'll have Martino lead that webinar, which is always good for us because he's always learning something new every single day. With that done, you guys, thanks for joining. And I can't wait to meet you in person. And I hope you guys learned something today. I hope this is helpful to you. So it was great to see you. If there's no more questions, then we'll end here we go. Yep. Oh, thanks, guys. You're very welcome. It's my pleasure to help you guys. If I can help you get more sales, that's what I do. My whole goal in life is to help my friends do better in life. And one way is to help you sell better. You guys have a great day.